In this problem, we're told to compare and contrast the long-run equilibrium for a firm in a competitive price-taker market to a firm in a competitive price-searcher market. We're asked what are two ways firms in these two markets are similar, and what are three ways firms in these two markets are different in long-run equilibrium. So the easiest way to go through and work this problem is first to draw out what does long-run equilibrium look like for the two industries. So we're going to have our price taker on the left and price searcher on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw, or rather I'm going to go ahead and write the names of the price taker and price searcher graphs. But if this was an exam, you should be able to identify which one's the price taker and which one is the price searcher strictly from the graphs. But I'm going to go ahead and write these on here just so you guys could follow along. Now, I'm intentionally going to attempt to make the marginal cost curves and the average total cost curves for both firms identical. With my artistic skills, it probably isn't going to be perfectly identical, but that is my intention. So we've got our marginal cost curve for the price taker, for the price searcher. The curve should look identical. Again, I'm not the best artist in the world, but pretend these two curves are exactly the same. Then we have our average total cost curve. And again, my artistic skills aren't the best. This is our marginal cost curve, and this is our average total cost curve. For a price taker, in the long run, there should be no economic profits, which means the firm's demand curve is going to intersect at the bottom, at the minimum point of the average total cost curve. And remember, marginal cost intersects the average total cost curve at the minimum. Also remember, the price taker, the individual firm's demand curve equals its marginal revenue, which equals the price per unit. So for the competitive price taker, this is going to be their equilibrium output, and P would be the equilibrium price for that market. For the price searcher market, the firm's individual demand curve is just going to touch the average total cost curve. So this is going to be the demand curve for the price searcher, and of course, where the demand curve just touches the average total cost curve in equilibrium, that is where production is going to happen. Therefore, we know that the marginal revenue curve, as we're drawing these out, we know the marginal revenue curve has to cross this point right here. So there's our marginal revenue curve. And notice here, where marginal revenue intersects marginal cost, we produce that quantity, we follow that back up to the demand curve, and that is going to be our price. And these two dotted lines, it looks like they're a little bit apart. They should be identical. That's what our curves look like in equilibrium. So, what are two ways the equilibrium for price takers and price searchers are similar? Well, one way, notice in both cases, the firms are producing where marginal cost intersects marginal revenue. That's the case for the price taker, and it's the case over here for the price searcher. That's one way they're similar. Another way they are similar is in equilibrium, the price they charge is going to be equal to their average total cost per unit. Said another way, for both a competitive price taker and a competitive price searcher, in a long-run equilibrium, economic profits will equal zero. Now, three ways in which they are different. One way is, notice that the price we have here for the price searcher, notice it is higher than the price for a competitive price taker. As we mentioned in class, economists don't agree on why this is. One theory is that through advertising, a price searcher is able to differentiate itself enough to where customers are willing to pay a premium for that product. Although economists don't completely agree, they do all agree that in equilibrium, the price for a price searcher will be higher than that of a price taker, holding their cost curves constant. Notice for a price searcher, a second way they're different, for a price searcher in equilibrium, the price per unit is greater than the marginal revenue per unit. With a price taker, that's not the case. With the price taker in equilibrium, the price per unit equals the marginal revenue per unit. Lastly, one other difference. A price taker in equilibrium produces at the minimum point on the average total cost curve, whereas a price searcher, as we see from this graph, a price searcher does not produce at the minimum point of the average total cost curve.